Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This video is my breakdown of debt. I guess you call it debt confession slash what am I going to do to pay it off video. So when I started in January, I think I started with about 15,000 give or take, and then I decided to, well, I didn't decide. I got one of those $10,000 boxes. I saved $10,000. I put it in my emergency fund, so that's where that is now. So then after I did that, I thought I would focus more on my debt, and hopefully I can get a majority of it paid off. Unfortunately, as the months went by, I was caught up in the saving challenges, the binders. I was buying binders. I was buying saving challenge books. I don't know how much money I spent on all of that stuff, and quite frankly, I'm not really sure how the 15,000 came about, but now I'm in 21,000 worth of debt, and I've broken it down into 3 separate accounts because these 3 accounts were offering a lower interest rate. And so 2 of them are credit cards. So the NBNA rewards, it had a 1% transfer fee, but there's only $4,700 on that card because that's the credit limit. And it's due by March the 7th of 2026. So I have 0% interest on that one. So I have to pay that one off first and then pay off the MBNA True Line, which is here, which is $4,120, and that's due by April, and it's a 0% interest rate as well on that card. That balance, that credit limit is 15,000, but the transfer fee was 3%, and it was just too high. The problem is, I feel like every time I do a balance transfer, I could have used that balance transfer money to pay down the debt, right? And then the third one I have here is my line of credit. That credit limit is $47,500, but I only owe 13. Well, when I wrote this down, I owed 13,863. But now it's down a little bit. But I just feel like I'm not making progress. Every time I put a little bit here, a little bit there, even when I put $400 on one, I just feel like it's not enough progress. As you can see here, I've been kind of just making payments as I can. And moving forward in September, I am going to be putting at least $500 per paycheck on the debt, on the 2 credit cards here. At least 500, because I want to be able to pay these off by the end of the year, and then I can focus on the line of credit, which is due by June of 2026, and that's a 3.74% interest rate at this time. Also, I think if I don't pay it off, the interest rate will go up to around 8 or 9%, which is not bad. It's better than credit card 28, 29%, or 21, I'm not sure. But the point of this is I don't want to keep moving money from card to card and line of credit to, you know what I mean? I just want to get this paid off and out of my mind. It seems like every year I get out of debt, I go back into debt, and this is the year I decided that I'm going to get out of the debt by next year, and I'm not going to get back in, which is why I've been so focused on saving instead of paying down my debt. I've just been saving. I've saved about 15,000 already this year, which I could have just paid my debt off, but then I would have been left with no emergency fund, no annual fee accounts, because that's where I pay my renter's insurance, my car insurance. I pay them yearly. I don't pay them month to month. And so I do save for those throughout the year. There's other things that I'm saving for that is important to me and I don't want to have a bill at the end of the day for those things. So I have to make this a priority, but the only priority I'm giving it is $500 per pay. If I so happen to have any extra money during the month, say from my grocery bill or if I didn't, I usually budget $120 for gas, and most of the time, because I work from home, I don't really drive as often as most people do. And so sometimes I only spend $60 for the month on gas, right? Because everything, I live in a pretty good city where everything is close by. I could walk to most things, but I drive, and it only takes me about 5 minutes here and there to get to where I'm going. But anyway, so when I started September, because usually what I do, I like to write down, like I keep track of what's in my accounts at the beginning of the month and at the end. And when I was looking at the balances for the line of credit and the 2 credit cards that I added money to, it was $21,514.49. And it only went up because I did do the balance transfers, and the 1% and the 3% really killed me there. But again, I'm doing this because I want to have 0% interest, but also I need the time to get the money together to pay these off. But I am adamant about getting at least $8,000 of this debt paid down by the end of December. And how I'm doing that is I'm going to be putting any extra money that I get on my paycheck. I'm going to put half to savings and half to debt, but also I'm still going to be contributing the $500 per pay, because the way it works with my paycheck is from January to about August, they tax heavy. The CPP, Canada Pension Plan, the EI comes out very heavy. And then by the time September rolls around, you start to see more on your paycheck because they've taken out what the government requires. So for my next paycheck, which is coming up this week, I'm going to be able to see if there's going to be any leeway for any extra money that I can put towards this debt. I've also decided to, as I said, if there's any leftover money from my gas budgeted or my laundry budgeted or my food budgeted accounts, then I'm going to just either save it or put it on my debt. But as I said, I'm going to be attacking this debt like crazy, because by the time it's due in June, I want to make sure maybe I just have $5,000 left to pay. And if I do have $5,000 set aside, then I can just pay it off and start my savings journey again. But as I said, most of this amount was just me spending, thinking, it's fine. I'm going to be able to pay it back. And then all of a sudden, when they sent me the balance transfer for the Scotia line, I wrote the check, but I wrote more than I owed. And so with the interest, I guess the interest messed it up there. But I was like, you know what, I just gave the money back. I put it back on the Scotia line account because I was like, why am I even doing this? And so now we're here. Now we owe $21,514.49. So I'm not going to do an update every month about my debt because that would be boring. But I'm going to do an update at the end of December, early January, just to see what kind of progress I made, so that I'm just focusing on getting this paid down. But as I said, I'm going to try using my paycheck as much as I can. I only have one job. I did quit my second job like a year ago or 2 years ago, I can't remember. But as I said, I'm going to try and get this paid off. I'm tired of this debt. I just don't know why I keep going into debt and getting out and going in and getting out. So this is going to be the time where I say I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. And another thing I've done is I've consolidated a lot of my accounts. I've closed a lot of credit card accounts. I'm basically trying to clean up my financial life. And so I just want to show you guys all the cards that I have here. Most of these are, I'm going to show, like this is some of my credit cards. The rest of them are in my wallet, but I've decided to kind of downgrade a lot of my cards because a lot of the cards that I have, oh, I forgot I have a few cards over here as well. A lot of the cards I have, these ones I'm going to be downgrading because I really don't need them. So it just makes sense for me to try and save money in that way. When I calculated how much money I would be spending on annual fees for credit cards, it was almost $1,000, and that didn't make sense to me because I could be putting that money towards my debt. And so I'm trying to go towards like a cashback card, spending cash, cashback card. If I don't have to put it on a credit card, then I won't. But then, you know, CIBC offered me to upgrade one of my credit cards. I just downgraded the card in March, I think, and they offered me an upgrade to the Visa Infinite Aventura. And so I was like, hey, if you guys are going to let me not pay this annual fee, I will definitely upgrade this card again, because I do like the card. I just don't like the fact that it's $139 a year, and I'm not really traveling this year. Next year I might book a couple of trips, but this year I've been very focused on saving and trying to tackle this debt, which I feel like is growing instead of going down. But as I said, things are going to change. I'm going to focus on getting this paid down, but also I'm going to try and focus on also saving, just in case, you know, anything happens. But my emergency fund does have, I have about 21,000 in emergency money. So right now I'm okay. And, you know, if anything happened, I do have money to pull from. So as I said, my first inkling would be just take all that money and pay off the debt, but then I would have zero and start again. And that's not what I'm trying to do. And every time I mention this to my partner, he's like, don't you dare keep that money. And I'm like, I know. That's what gets me in trouble every time. I think, okay, I have the money, let me pay off the debt, but then I go back into debt because I use the money that I should have been using for other things. And so I decided that, you know, I won't do that again. And so, as I said, I'm just going to focus on paying this down, and hopefully by December, it will be a whole lot. This. Pray for me, y'all, because I have 3 short trips planned. I'm going to Montreal in October. I'm going to Blue Mountain in November. And for the new year, I'm going to be in Niagara Falls. And so I do have money saved for those things, but my partner's like, you know, just calm down. You can bring your little money if you want, but I'm going to be the one paying, which is nice. So as I said, any money that I save, I'm going to just, you know, try to put it towards my emergency fund. If I don't spend, I mean, I plan to shop in Montreal when I go. So hopefully, you know, I do get some good stuff when I go there. Anyway, I think that's all I need to say for this debt confession / how am I going to pay off this debt video. That I hope you guys return to see the progress I'm going to be making, or I will make, in December or January. I'm going to probably do a what's in my wallet video next, or maybe a paycheck video. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for joining, and I'll see you soon.